But I want to start by talking to this wonderful woman. At 39 years of age, Kate Allett from Sheffield suffered a very severe brain stem stroke and was diagnosed with locked-in syndrome, leaving her completely paralysed and unable to communicate. Against all odds and to doctors' amazements, though, she managed to regain speech and mobility in less than a year. And we have spoken to Kate many times, but the reason we're talking to you this morning, Kate, is because tomorrow you are receiving an honorary degree from Sheffield Hallam University, which just sounds marvellous.
Completely staggering and mind-blowing, and actually not at all on my radar, and came out of the blue, and I'm very honoured, and I'm just looking forward to it tomorrow. I can't believe it.
I bet you are. We're going to talk a bit more about the honorary degree and how you got to that point, but some people will have not heard your story. It was almost 8 years ago when you had the stroke. Remind us what happened.
I was 39, huge fell runner, very fit, 3 young kids, had headaches. Within 12 hours of running around Chatsworth House Gardens for 2 hours, I was on life support in the Northern General in Sheffield with a brainstem stroke, in a coma, medically induced. And then when I emerged from the coma, I was able to think, feel, see, hear, but move absolutely nothing. And that remained the case for a considerable time, but it took 2 weeks in ICU. I was there 9 for my friends to realise I was able to understand everything going on around me, and they cobbled together a communication system to blink to unlock me, basically. It was a phenomenal moment in my recovery. That 2 weeks into it, yeah.
It sounds like everyone's worst nightmare, though. That beginning when you can understand, you can see, you can think, and you can feel, but people haven't worked out that.
But they think
that's
you're
the case.
vegetative.
Yeah,
I can't say the word. But no, you're not, and it's very scary. And yeah, I mean, I talk in my speeches now to corporates and health sectors about feeling buried alive. You know, it's like people talk about, waking up in anaesthetics and, them not being able to tell people that they could feel everything. It's scary, yeah.
What was that moment like then? I mean, I'm just trying to picture that moment when your friends, family, for the first time, really. How did they work out that you were there?
Well, 2 weeks on, I had a slight flicker in my eyelids. That's all I had, no other movement. And they figured themselves, fair play to them, Jackie, Anita and Alison, they thought if they put the letters A to Z on a piece of paper, and one of them pointed, one of them looked in my eyes, and they said to me, blink once for no, or twice for yes. There was only slight flickers. They were able to interpret, and the first word I spelt out was, 3 letters, SLE, S-L-E, which took 20 minutes, and it was very knackering.
20 minutes.
And my friend Jackie guessed sleep, and then it was like every birthday, every Christmas, the birth of your children all rolled into 1 times 100. The moment I was unlocked, it was phenomenal. So
you're able to communicate, and that obviously an incredible moment, but then the realisation that, this could be it.
Oh, God, absolutely. I mean, we've all seen the films. What if they think I'm not worth keeping? What if they're having private conversations in the room next door about pulling the plug on the life support machine? You overthink, because all you have is a clock on the wall. There's no stimulation, no nothing, because you're considered, pretty vegetative. And they're keeping you alive, and fair play to the people at the Northern General for doing that. But in terms of my emotional needs, it was very scary, and it's been scary ever since, to be honest.
Scary because you're worried that it might happen again, is that?
No, not because I would again, but because of there's so much happened to me, nothing was explained to me, and the hallucinations, the fear, seeing people die, the conversations around you, not to you, subsequently the post-traumatic stress disorder, untreated because you leave hospital, it's like, see ya.
That's very interesting, and that is something we focus, don't we, on the event, the stroke, and then the fact that you were locked in, and actually that in itself is one of the most traumatic experiences any human being could go through, and you don't actually necessarily consider the after effects.
The after effects are profound. They've been very profound. They've changed our lives as a family, our wider family, our friends. Lost and gained friends over it. Our family has never been the same again. I mean, the ripple effect from that one event, that in itself was very traumatising for anybody, especially as there's no one else to help guide us, there was no manual on what to do, has been profound, and it still is, you know.
Because you generally, when you're coming on BBC Radio Sheffield, it's to tell us about some amazing thing that you've done, and it's all super positive. But in the background, there's all of these things going on day in, day out.
What you have to understand is, having left hospital with nothing, no nurses, family, you know, going back to their lives and so on, and I'd lost career, I'd lost physicality, I'd lost my emotional strength, I lost my parenting abilities, I'd lost relationships, I'd lost my business. You know, the losses were huge. For me to deal with my life, then my self-worth, the purpose had gone. I was doubly incontinent. I couldn't walk 2 yards without anyone looking after me. You know, I had to find my own way to cope, and for me that was helping other people like me believe they could improve, because I felt there was something I did that could help other people. But by helping other people, my wellness stabilised, you know, my worth stabilised. It was making a difference to people's lives and families who were desperate as you were, who were equally as written off. That's so powerful, and it becomes addictive. And I can't make any apologies for that, you know, because that's what keeps me well.
I don't think you need to. You're listening to the incredible Kate Allett. She's reminding us about this story 8 years ago where she suffered this incredibly serious stroke and then was locked in effectively. She's recovered from that. There are obviously ongoing issues. Tomorrow, she picks up an honorary degree, and we'll have a little break, Kate, and then we'll talk about all the incredible things that you have done since then in the last 8 years, the honorary degree, and hopefully as well your plans for the future. And we're talking this morning to Kate Allett. Almost 8 years ago, she suffered a very severe brainstem stroke and was diagnosed with locked-in syndrome. She managed to defy all of the odds. She is able to not only speak and walk, but she's a motivational speaker now. And tomorrow, she's collecting an honorary degree from Sheffield Hallam University. And before the break, we talked about the actual event itself, and something I don't think we've really spoken about that much, about the ongoing, lasting effects of going through something as traumatic as that. You have, though, rebuilt your life from effectively nothing. It was effectively taken away from you.
Everything,
completely. To such an extent that tomorrow you're receiving this honorary degree. Between now and when you started to get back onto your feet, you started to regain your ability to speak. What has happened? What have been the...
do you know, the highlights for me, and it really is in the last 6.5 years of that last almost 8 years, really, this is what I've achieved. I think for me, some of the highlights were, I wrote my book, Running Free, which we talked a lot about, not because of any other reason. I was a marketeer. I didn't think of it business-like. I didn't think I'd help people in as much as I have since. I wrote it as a legacy to my kids because I thought life is fragile. We don't know how long we're here for. I want them to know their mum. That was my motivation. But 3 months after, I started writing that the day I left hospital with a ghostwriter. 3 months after, pivotal, I had 3 months of thinking, what the hell do I do with myself now? Who am I? You know, I've got nothing. You know, I'm worthless. I'm feeling visible in my wheelchair at home, where I lived. You know, the phone stopped ringing. It was just, and I would struggle what to do with myself. And then I hit upon an idea, you know, maybe the way I've approached this recovery, maybe that could help other people. And so I set about social media and reaching out to people across borders, across countries, people who were touched by locked-in syndrome, seeing if I could help, and actually seen so much improvement beyond, you know, because they were equally as written off in their own countries. And then the more gratitude and the more people really seemed to enjoy the strength I gave them, to give them a bit of strength with the medical people, the more I felt, you know, I am somebody. I have got a purpose. I have got a self-worth. My self-esteem started to lift, and that became very addictive. So the charity, which I founded, a registered charity, and I ran for 5 years voluntarily, helped people all over the world, and reached out through social media and did personal visits. I probably helped in around 450 people in the last, just single-handedly. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the fact that the charity, which to all intents and purposes, I'll be honest with you now, it was me on my laptop in the kitchen, okay? But I had the stroke establishment in the UK, because I wasn't controllable, because I knew what I wanted and I didn't speak their language. on the run that they thought we'll keep the enemies close, the kind of thing. So within 3 years, I'm on the top table of the UK Stroke Forum Steering Committee, determining stroke policy for the UK.
It's unbelievable. I just wonder if your sort of friends and family, having been through this with you, do they ever go, Kate, look, I just like a return to normality. You're devoting it sounds like you devote every second of every hour virtually to
it's not
dealing
work
with this.
to me. I mean, I have a very good, family. My relationship with my kids is really very strong, and it's paramount. I mean, they're the reason, they were the motivation for me to get recovered, frankly. But in terms of my work, it's not work to me. It's just a passion. I get emails every day from people all around the world. South Africa yesterday, for people who are desperate as my family were, and I can understand that. I see these people, I go and visit them, and how can I not help? How can I not try and give them some advice that might help them? Ask the right questions to their medical staff. I will always do it. My charity's gone, but my work has never stopped. I just do it without having to deal with a charity commission. I've had some great times as well. Going off to the Olympic opening ceremony and meeting various people, that was an incredible treat for me. But I did a TEDx only a few years ago on voicing inner thoughts at the university, which I was really pleased. Media commentator. I've done. One of the things I'm most proud of, with Dr. Joanna Fletcher-Smith, got £250,000 research funding from a tweet. I thought there was an idea that we could help other stroke survivors improve upper limbs with electrical stimulation. I tweeted her. She ignored me, and I tweeted her again. I was a bit like a dog with a bone. She came to see me, and within 18 months of that trip in that greasy spoon, we had a chatting for 4 hours. We secured a whole research team and £250,000 to run a feasibility study.
When I speak to you, I just think, what a tenacious person you are. And so you've had this incredible roller coaster in the last 8 years. What do you expect the next 8 years, I suppose, to contain?
Well, do you know what I'm going to do? And this won't come as any surprise. I'm going to do more research. I'm going to push more people. I'm going to push all the connections I've made over the years. And I've had some help, and people have not said no to me, which is good. Well, a lot of people have, but, some people haven't. But I think for me, research into the support, how families and friends can support people as stroke survivors after they leave hospital in the community. I think it's really important that they get better education and better support, because I think a lot of families feel very stroke fatigued by the whole thing after months of being in hospital. And I don't think it's down to the individual to educate. So I think it's really important that there's more support for families of what to expect and how to help stroke survivors in the community. That's a big thing for me. And also research on patient motivation, getting adherence levels up for people to get fitter and healthier. I think patient motivation is a huge thing. Which
can be very difficult. I know in terms of stroke recovery, very briefly, because we're running out of time. Tomorrow, are you going to be in the full wig and gown?
I hope so. And I'm doing a speech.
Oh, brilliant. Are you frightened? No, you're not. You can't be frightened of anything.
No, I've just done a speech for 1,650 people.
Right, OK. So this is going to be small fry. Kate Allett, as ever, lovely to talk to you, and congratulations on your honorary degree.